what you're listening to.
And now, ladies and gentlemen,
You're listening to the Snowman in the Morning podcast.
Did you not get the memo?
Insanity ensues.
Can't wait.
Please help us welcome one more time Mr. Lennon Barnes from Columbia, Missouri. Lennon, how are you? And
Nope.
it's still muted.
Nope.
Brother.
Hold on.
Good.
There you
Yeah. Hey guys.
Again,
How you doing?
we're not professionals. We just
We just act like
it. T-shirt
The
coming
life
soon.
of a
Keep an eye out for the shop.
Listen, I can sympathize with Lennon. The life of a student in Missouri. I did it in 1990 at Northeast Missouri State, so I get it. There's a lot more technology around now than it was back then. How are you, Lennon? Good to see you this morning.
How you guys doing?
What's up, man?
So,
Tired.
Droid decided to flip my show upside down, and he said, I have a guest for you. Like, what? And he said, he's a photographer at the University of Missouri. Okay, bring him on.
Actually, no.
My wife
You know what?
warned
He
me
actually no. I'll tell you what.
about
He actually,
flipping my
he
show
said,
upside down.
Shut up. He said, "Shut up. You don't got that." I'm like, "Oh, trust me, I do. I really do."
Oh,
Lennon, I've known him for a while now. Me and him are both
Yeah.
big fans of the Kansas City Pioneers. So
hey, fellow gamer in the
figured,
house,
you know,
lock and load.
I figured, you know what? Why not hit him up, see if he's down? And sure enough, he was down. But one of the big things we brought you on what it's like on the field, even in Columbia as a student.
The environment is it's crazy. Like hearing 70,000 fans screaming, especially okay, so I don't know how much you guys keep up with Mizzou or anything, but this past, not Alabama, but the week before, whenever Brady Cook went hurt, the stadium was silent. When he came back, I never
They
heard the
went
stadium
nuts.
like that. I never heard it like that in my life.
The lid was
they
blown
went-
off.
That was one of the craziest experiences.
The only other experience, and I got a chance to see it in person, was 1997 against Nebraska. The miracle pass from Nebraska, which led to overtime. You being on the field at the University of Missouri, being able to capture moments like the one you just described and many others. What is that? What is that like to get that experience?
So, being a freshman too, most people, if you go to journalism at Mizzou, it's hands-on learning. So everyone gets to do it at their junior year at least once. But I'm a freshman. I started doing this my senior year of high school. And just getting to be with the athletes and capture some of these moments. I've made friends through it. I know most of the football team now. I can text them. I know every member of the wrestling team. Just being with them, making new friends, and capturing these moments that they'll remember for a lifetime is awesome.
How'd you get into it? What led you to get into journalism?
So, I'd always wanted to work in sports. I just didn't know what I wanted to do. And then my junior-ish year of high school, I would say the end of my sophomore year, I picked up a camera and kind of messed around. And then my junior year, I took a yearbook class. Senior year, I started working for the paper. And now here I am as a journalism student at Mizzou. So,
Victor knows a little something about that because when he came to Chicago State in 2001 and I met him, he was in a totally different major.
Yep.
And
engineering, to be exact.
He was in engineering, and then my stupid brain decided to go haywire, and I said, "I have something for you to engineer." And Victor gave me the look of death, and he says, "What are you up to?" And Victor's been my engineer on air for about 17 years now. But it's a lot of, when you cover sports on a campus, a big time campus, it's a lot of fun to do. But Lennon, you can attest to, Victor, you as well, and all the guys here, it's a lot of work as well.
I mean, absolutely. Yeah. There was a night where I shot wrestling practice at 3, hockey at 6, turned around and shot football at 11 a.m. the next morning. Had all the pictures edited and posted by Saturday evening. So, I try to stay busy. So,
see, he's good with pictures like I am with audio and video. Because I'll record something and then within an hour I'll have it all cut up. It's like, and my wife even asked me this: how do you do that? I looked at her and I said, "Do what?" And she looked at all of the
Clips.
recordings on my screen, and she says, "That." she pointed to my monitor and she said, "That."
Well, I think everyone who does some form of editing, they have a certain part of their brain where it's like everything they see it differently. Like if you see someone who does like video editing, if you see a music video, you're like, oh, this is a regular music video. But the person who edits that music video, they can see what scenes go where, what parts of the visual part of it, what parts should go where. And I've seen you do this with a lot of your audio edits. Like you know exactly where the splice needs to be for a particular song or exit or intro. You know exactly what it is just by hearing it once or twice.
Lennon, who inspires you to get into journalism? Is there like are there like a couple of people that that inspires you to go that way when you got to Mizzou?
I don't think it was when I got to Mizzou. I want to say it was in high school. So my yearbook teacher worked for our local paper for a long time. And I was talking to him about how – this is before the yearbook. He was just an English teacher this time. But I was talking to him about how I always wanted to work around sports, but I didn't know what I wanted to do. So I thought about sports medicine, but that's just so much college, and I don't know if I can deal with that. And he's like, pick up a camera. You'll be He's like, pick up a camera. You'll be close to the action. And, yeah, that's how it happened.
Fair enough, because I was in computer science.
That's what my roommates did.
Years. So. My original major was computer science. And then in 1992, I made a change. Upstairs to Droid. He has a question.
So I believe it was week 2 against Vanderbilt. Being on the field for an overtime thriller like that, and the emotion, as I know you said, the atmosphere in Columbia is insane.
Absolutely.
But what is it like for overtime games, especially ones like that against a team like Vanderbilt?
So, funny story about that. I was right on about the 3-yard line for that. I got one of the greatest pictures I've ever taken during that. But, my heart rate was so high. I was shaking. I was talking to, Vanderbilt's team photographer, and, the cheerleaders were, asking questions because they didn't understand all the rules. Mm-hmm. And, whenever they threw a flag on that last offensive pass interference, they're like, they're going to score it there. I'm like, no, that's on them. Is what I told them. And they're like, okay. And my heart rate was probably 180 that time. It was one of the craziest experiences ever. I was shaking on the sideline shooting.
I get it.
I remember you texted the fantasy group chat saying, I got this photo. I could barely keep my hands stable.
It was rough, yeah.
That's great.
But also, I noticed that you're really trying to, be photographers for even big esports teams like Kansas City Pioneers.
Yeah, I actually am doing some work with the Pioneers right now. So,
yeah, I actually noticed that. Was it Matt that convinced you, or was it somebody else?
Actually Sam. Sam
Cooley.
Yeah.
Covering doing photography for esports. What is that like? That's a new experience that I'm getting into. But I want to learn more about it.
So I know, the biggest thing with photos with that are whenever they're really, really focused are the emotions, because they do show a lot of emotion after big wins or big losses. High-fiving your teammates, celebrating. That's what I like to capture with that is emotions. Nice. Or the not so much of the actual players, but the fans, the environment, stuff like that too. So
if I were to give you let's go back to Worlds when we played Gen G in the elimination rounds, and we pulled off one of the biggest upsets, Oceania beating NA for the first time in a long time, right after Power beat Gen G. What is a specific moment you would have probably captured there?
Definitely the Pioneers' reaction, the players' reactions. As soon as that match ended, whenever they all jumped up and hugged, that was probably a moment I would have captured.
Speaking of capturing a moment, here's Pumpkin, who randomly, whenever he's in the house, decides to hop in the chair with me. What was the most, besides the overtime game with Mizzou and Vanderbilt. What was the most insane moment you ever caught on camera?
Oh man, that's a hard one. I would say probably like it wouldn't necessarily be insane, but like just some of the upsets at the college wrestling national championship this past year. Like that was a crazy thing for me. Because I mean, I watched. So I'm from Mizzou, a big Mizzou guy, but this Keegan O'Toole was #1 ranked, 2-time national champion. Lost to his rival, who they were like 5-5 against each other. Lost to him in the semifinals. So that was a hard match, but it was a good one to capture. So
I had two dreams come true when it comes to the Mizzou campus. I had a chance to see the Hearns Center when they hosted Kansas in the old Big 8 conference. And then I got to see it as a broadcaster for women's basketball when Mizzou hosted Chicago State a few years back. And walking into Mizzou Arena and just taking a look around and seeing the ribbon boards and the court, you'd get the new school feel, but you get a lot of the old school feel with it also. Do you not?
absolutely, like especially this is a little off of that, but like the buildings on campus, they're designed old on the outside and new on the inside. So you feel like you're in an old school, which I mean you really are at Mizzou, but everything's pretty modern anymore.
Mm-hmm. I got to tell y'all a funny story about our trip to Missouri when I was covering Chicago State women's basketball. I drove in from Gary, Indiana that morning. I had my suitcase, had my equipment and everything, and the coaches were ready. And then a snowstorm happened. I saw nothing the final 5 miles. I'm going into Chicago. And Victor, you've driven up 94 with me. When a snowstorm happens, especially the lake effect snow, it's not fun to drive in or drive through.
No. Especially you have to remember, what was it, like 2011, when pretty much the entire Lakeshore area was like a car graveyard because of the lake effect snow.
And I nearly was in that. I was nearly in that graveyard, but there was a snowstorm coming in. We all went into the arena. We got packed up. We got ready. The buses came around. We're loading stuff in the snow. By the time we got to Columbia, some hours later, it was 61 degrees. And this is in January.
That sounds like Missouri to me, honestly.
It is, man.
That's like Missouri. That's like if you take Missouri and Kansas and combine them, that's basically what it is.
That's it.
As a native Kansan myself, I've grown up in Kansas all my life. I graduated from Shawnee Heights. But my question for you, Lennon, I never knew what it was like, of course, to be with a team, maybe even taking pictures. What's it like with a bye week? Because I know Mizzou has a bye week this upcoming week. What is it like for a photography team on the bye week? Do you just take pictures at practice, or is it just an off week for you for that specific sport?
Last time we had a bye week a few weeks ago, I went home for the weekend, and this is my birthday weekend, so I'm going to go home for this weekend. If they have another sport, I'll go cover that, but for the most part, bye weeks are just kind of a week off. So,
yeah. I've had bye weeks where, especially with me, when I covered Trinity International up in Deerfield, Illinois, I didn't know what a bye week was because we usually play all the way through, and we were just done a week before the main colleges were done. But having that off week, I want to say it was 2012, having that off week, we're just sitting there going, now what? We had to. I basically, Victor just came to my place and hung out all week, and that was the longest sleep I ever got. Because Victor is, like I said, Victor's one of the people that has helped me keep everything together, and Victor gave me a command and a demand that week. And he said, no talking. Yeah. Then my girlfriend called. And all of that went out the window, and Victor came in and heard me and yelled at me.
Yeah, that'll happen.
But you have, of course, Mizzou has Oklahoma coming up. We all know this. I believe that's in Missouri. I think that's in Columbia.
Let me look for
I
you.
know I'm going to be very excited to see those photos from you. I tried to find the Vanderbilt photo, the catch that you took. I could not send it to Snowman because I couldn't find it. And I was actually hoping you still had it on you.
I should, yeah.
I want to see it. Now I want to see it.
It's an insane moment. Like Lennon's always been great at photography. He posts his photos after every college game day and in our fantasy chat, despite him being terrible at fantasy.
Hey, I think my record's even after I win this week. I think I'm 50. I think I'm 0.5 on the season.
And he has one of the funniest team names I think in the league right now. It's CTE. I think it's like CTESPN.
It's Antonio Brown's brand, yeah.
And I'm like,
trust me, there's a few times.
Is this
trust me, there's
Tua Tagovailoa or?
It's Antonio Brown.
You know what? That works too.
I'm out. I'm done with that one.
Antonio Clown. Oh, he sent it to me. Yeah, it's the pass deflection on the final play.
Pass interference, yeah. Yeah,
What
I'm gonna be 4-4
can
after
you
this
do?
week also.
What can you do?
Lennon
Barnes, go ahead.
To finish this off, the editing process. I know as a person who took photography back in high school for two straight years, I know the editing process can be a lot. But with such a high standard that a school, not only in the SEC, but a school just as high prestige as Mizzou, how long does it take for you to even edit one photo?
So I go through and I highly in-depth edit one photo, which takes 10, 15 minutes. And then I copy my preset that I just edit and put it on all of them. And I go through and fine touch the other ones and crop them down and stuff.
You know, I
preset my first image, so.
I had a chance to work with a few photographers from the Chicago Bulls during their dynasty run, especially when they first opened the United Center. The flashes that you see going off when you look at a game, they're crazy. And I was in the United Center in '96 when the Bulls won it, beating Seattle, and all the flash bulbs that went off after MJ fell to the floor crying is something else. Last question. How long do you spend on pre-setup? Does it depend on the event that you're covering?
So yeah, if it's like basketball, I get there an hour early, wrestling 30 minutes early, football, I normally get there 2.5 hours before the game starts.
You don't want to be in the crowd.
Yeah, sounds good.
I get there plenty early.
Yep,
but I mean,
sounds about right because these guys know my rule. 2 to 2.5 hours. I'm in studio prepping for a game call, and Victor has been with me as my engineer. And got to leave you with this one. There was one afternoon I overslept, and boy, Victor let me have it. Victor called me. I set my alarm. And I said, okay, I can steal another hour. I forgot to turn my phone on.
Ooh.
And paid for it. Because I look to my right and my phone is just going off the hook. And I picked up the phone and my voice sounded so raspy. And I said, hello. And Victor goes, where the bleep are you? What? Why aren't you in Chicago right now at UIC Pavilion? Again, what? And then it dawned on me. There was a triple header that day. And the next sentence out of my mouth was, Victor, I'll be there in 45 minutes. Yeah, because you're already running late. We're supposed to be set up by now, man.
Yeah. because I have nothing to work with.
Right. Because I had the equipment.
Yeah. And when you get there and someone is not there, you are lost. You're like,
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
What do I do?
Yep. Oh gosh. Joey, close this segment out if you would, sir.
Ladies and gentlemen, that is Lennon Barnes. You can find him on Twitter at L3NNON _ I think it's 2 underscores.
It is 2 underscores, yeah.
And then you can find him on Instagram at lennon.ray.photography. Appreciate you coming on, man. I mean, it's always a pleasure to have guests on, but especially you, man, especially with our history together, especially in the trade books. I appreciate you coming on.
We thank you, Lennon. Thank you, brother, so much. Thank you.
Thank you guys for having me.
Good luck in classes today.
I love you, Droid, for that. All of our guests appear via the Invader Coffee guest line presented by Invader Coffee, fuel for the fearless. And the first hour of today's show is brought to you by BetUS.com. BetUS.com, where the game...
Hey everybody, Snowman here. Looking for the best way to experience live events? Well, SeatGeek has you covered. With just a few taps on your phone, you can find the best seats for concerts, sports, theater, and more. Don't miss out on unforgettable moments. Download the SeatGeek app today and get ready for an experience like no other. Each ticket is vetted for authenticity and ranked on a 1 to 10 scale. And right now, if you sign up and use the code Snowman, you will get $20 off of your first purchase. That's only through the power of SeatGeek, where fans can fan.
He's gonna go.
Okay, I have a question, but I'm afraid to ask it of Victor. As long as I've known him and he's known me, Victor says I have this propensity of coming up with questions that I have no business asking. I think this is one of them. It's a case of would you rather? Would you rather take the 42-10 loss last year or 30-24 this year?
30-24.
Because
at least it seemed like it was more competitive than, because a 42-10 beatdown, especially when it was over by halftime. You and I saw that game.
Yes, we did.
You know that team was defeated. At least in this go round, it said the team was a bit more engaged. They still wanted it.
But I have to ask this question. You being a Cowboys aficionado, why do the Cowboys take so long to turn it on?
That's the $1 million question everyone's asking.
I got a better question. Where the hell was your run game yesterday?
Non-existent.
Where is the run game?
It's week trying to give it to Zeke, even though he's too old for this.
You know what?
Thank
you for saying, Droid. Thank you for saying that, because I can tell you what Zeke is feeling right now. No, change that. I can tell you what Mike Fats McCarthy is feeling right now, and the rest of the Cowboys after what happened last night.
I'm getting too old for this.
Yeah, pretty much.
You still have Pennywise at the helm. You're gonna be basically saddled with a loss at that point.
I mean,
but they were in the game. They led at halftime.
They led at halftime.
No hope.
They led at halftime. They led at halftime.
Years of listening to Cowboys fans, not Victor.
I know where you're going. I know where you're going.
This nation talk about, but even though we haven't won a Super Bowl, we at least make the playoffs every year. If they don't make the playoffs, I'm laughing in their face the same way Marshawn Lynch laughed in Pete Carroll's face after that interception.
Well, that's the big problem, and this is the problem I've had with the Moronic Republic for quite some time, is that they always take these small victories of, we made it to the playoff. We're going to make it to the playoffs this year. What difference does it make if you get bounced in the first round?
especially given
By
the
the
way that the
Packers.
Cowboys lost against the Packers
You
in
lost-
their home stadium.
Yes, you lost
This
against
past
the
January.
Packers. You lost against the Packers in embarrassing fashion.
Mm.
Yet you beat Tom Brady and aged Tom Brady and the Bucks the year prior. Great. But then you come with a foolish play and get destroyed by the 49ers.
Again and again and again.
Exactly. I mean,
And
when I saw it was 10-6, I was like, okay, well, they're making a game out of it.
And then
the
San
third-
Francisco said,
Honestly-
"Screw you."
Well,
Honestly, I thought Jaden Daniels was going to take a bit to, develop before he got this good.
yeah.
And I thought the Commanders were still going to be a bottom tier.
what the
team.
Cowboys
Still-
would do. No,
Still
I take back the thought that I just had.
I don't
So I-
know if I would
No.
settle.
I take back. I don't
well,
want to tease.
Rounders.
I take back the thought I just had with Jaden Daniels being in a Cowboy uniform. It wouldn't have worked.
No,
Yeah,
no,
No.
no.
Now here's the question.
Flag on the play, unsportsmanlike.
Hey, ref, do me a favor. Shut up a second. You're not getting paid enough for this.
Wow.
My question I've got after yesterday's game is was this San Francisco's get right game?
Yes,
Yeah.
two reasons.
Give
One,
them to me.
we're headed in the we are on a bye next week,
Mhm.
so we're going to get a lot of missing parts back. And two, we were not supposed to win that game. ... At all,
No.
because
Well, with the injuries,
Dallas was kicking our tail.
Yeah,
All right.
Dallas was doing ball control. I mean, granted,
Yep.
it was only 10-6 at the half, but Dallas was full-blown ball control.
Yeah.
But here's the point where I think the game turned for San Francisco when they held Dallas out of the end zone and forced them to settle for a field goal. So instead of it being 14-3, it was 10-3.
well,
Yeah.
also take
And by that time, Frisco had not even seen the red zone. I mean,
Well-
their two field goals came from distance.
Yeah.
also take consideration that the boogeyman showed up and showed out. And
The animal
Yes, the boogeyman for the Cowboys
is George Kittle.
has and probably will always be George the Animal Kittle.
Six receptions, 128 yards, plus a touchdown. And that touchdown in the third quarter
Mm-hmm.
turned it on for San Francisco.
Yeah,
Yep.
because after that, it was just on lock.
It was over after that.
Yeah.
But if you're the Cowboys, does it hurt more having a chance to come all the way back and win that game from 27-10 down? And yet, with Pennywise being in control of the offense, and Victor, you've mentioned this so many times over,
Mhm.
4 consecutive pass plays
Well,
on the right side of the 2-minute warning.
Well, that's the problem, is that once again, the run game is nowhere to be found. And we had thought, stupidly, that with the offensive line help that we got.
Don't make
from
me
the
spit
draft-
out my coffee in doing that, okay?
Well, we thought that the offensive line help we had gotten in the draft. We had gotten
Maybe one of them.
we had gotten some help in the run game. I don't know. And of course, people again stupidly thought that Zeke was going to do something.
I didn't.
And they thought, okay, we'll be able to make it more even and run the ball more. But
you guys got obliterated in the run game.
well, of course, Pennywise had to go back to the Dak attack again.
How many times did Dak throw the ball last night?
38 times.
38 times. Mm.
How many
25
completions?
for 30, 25 for 38, 243, 2 and 2.
How many interceptions?
Two.
Two.
How many sacks?
Give me a second to find that out because I'm
5.
still-
I think
yeah.
5.
Sacks
Dak Prescott
allowed.
got sacked
No,
5
they only-
times.
No, sacks allowed was only 2.
Oh, they only got 2. Oh, well, they beat the hell out of him, though.
Yeah, they got
a lot
they,
of them
they
hurt.
got some late
They
shots
beat
in.
the daylights out of Dak
you on
Prescott.
the moronic Republican Cowboys Nation think you got any help on the O-line in the draft, you are STUPID. Stupid.
And that-
If you think I got a better button to push, goes like this. If you are a member of the Moronic Republic of Cowboy Nation and you thought you got some offensive line help in the past 2 years, because Victor, when we did our first round coverage of the draft 2 years ago, Victor was begging, you understand me? Begging the Cowboys to get some offensive line help. Well, I have a 3-word response.
Stop the cap.
If you thought it happened then.
Well, also
the
take
only
consideration again.
good offensive lineman you pulled in the draft was Cooper Beebe from Kansas State.
Yeah.
That's it.
Now, here's the biggest problem I got with this game. Dallas had 5 people rushing the football, including Dak.
Yep.
They only had a combined 56 yards. 5 people rushed the football.
You had no
Here's the
right
thing.
putting that on the screen.
Here's the thing. Yes, I did. I'm in charge of the buttons, doggone it. At least this morning I am. Listen, here's the thing about that number that you just mentioned. 56 combined rushing yards from the Cowboys as a committee.
Yep.
You know how many rushing yards Brock Purdy had last night?
58.
Yep.
56. I think
56.
Well, again, look at the offense.
56 rushing yards. Listen, let's take a look at this. And Pizzle, no, I am not in Chicago this week. Matter of fact, my honey's in St. Louis until Wednesday. Take a look at these numbers right here. The 49ers only had one more first down than the Cowboys, 19-18. Niners held the ball 33 minutes, 12 seconds. Cowboys 26-48. So a little bit more even in the time of possession. The Cowboys had 292 offensive yards last night. They allowed 469 to San Francisco.
Well, again, look at the offensive lines.
And you also want to know the biggest thing? Dallas was 4 for 12 on third down, 1 for 2 on fourth, whereas San Fran was 8 of 16 on third down.
You don't allow a team, if you're supposed to be all of that and then some, like many Moronic Republic members proclaim, and Victor said this exact sentence to me, you don't allow a team 16 third down attempts.
No, you don't.
Let me say that again. 16 third down attempts. And remember, this is a team in San Francisco that is so beat up, they're down to their rookie running back who runs a 4.3 out of Louisville, and Isaac Guerrero. And if I'm reading this correctly, and Dog, I'll have you help me on this, 14 carries, 85 yards, plus a touchdown.
Yep.
Now, if Purdy gets 56, Guerrero gets 85, and your team as a committee only gets 56 yards, which is matched by a quarterback, and Purdy has now run more out of necessity than luxury this year because the Niners are so beat up. What does that say about your team when you, and I said this exact sentence, when you signed a retread running back in Ezekiel Elliott, you let Tony Pollard walk to Tennessee.
Right.
And Tony Pollard was your best option at running back. Now what do?
You've got no help because your offensive line is complete, trash.
Well, like I said, the offensive line has nothing. You don't have a coach that has really good running schemes.
No, he really doesn't. I mean, Pennywise has never had good running schemes.
For God's sakes, does the latter years in Green Bay prove anything? I'm looking at a Redskins highlight. That's why I said Washington.
I mean, let's break this down. Zeke only had 34 yards. They had Alvin Cook that ran the ball 6 times for 12. They had Turpin run the ball once for 11 yards.
Yep.
Lupke didn't even get any yardage, and Dak went back a yard.
What does that tell you about
There's your rushing committee.
Yep. Yeah. What is that? You just took the thought out of my head. what does that tell you about your rushing attack or lack thereof?
That they have
lack thereof.
That's the key word.
I mean,
lack thereof. I mean, and the thing is that unfortunately, the ones who take the beating the most are the fan base, because it's like I said before, there are two things that every NFL fan wants: is their team to win and the Cowboys to lose.
Mm-hmm.
Because there's just a monumental hatred for Cowboys fans, and there always has been, and there probably always will be.
Let's look at it this way: you had this is how biased the offense is in Dallas.
Mm-hmm.
He had 13 receptions for $146,
Mm-hmm.
and both of Dak's touchdowns.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Once he got shut down, it was done for Dallas.
It was Dunskies.
Yeah,
as Victor often says, it was Dunskies.
Because we've basically relegated to now it's Dak or nothing, and that's really where the Cowboys are at.
And that's not the Cowboy offense. And that's not the Cowboy offense. And I'll even take this back to the 80s with Danny White and Drew Pearson and Butch Johnson,
right?
And Doug Cosby, Tony Dorsett. That's not the Cowboy offense I remember. And of course, you always had the 90s team, and I'll always pay homage to them.
Yeah,
Big Emmett,
Emmett, Troy Aikman, you got prime time on the defense side. You had a squad back then, and I just don't understand. Well, I kind of do understand it because it's Jarrell. This is Jarrell having this compulsive need to be right.
And here's the thing that hurts Dallas. Dallas is now 2 games behind the Redskins.
Yep.
2 full games.
And we have yet to face them.
You have yet to face the Redskins, and they're pretty beat up, but they're going to get healthy. And we'll talk about the Redskins in our next segment. You still got to see the Eagles.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
And in a crazy sort of way, you still have to see the Giants.
We still have to see the Giants, who we escaped with a win last time. So Lord knows
sure did, because the Giants had the ball with a chance to win.
Right. So we'll see what happens the next go around. We haven't seen the Eagles yet. We haven't seen the Redskins yet, and the Redskins look like an absolute dynamo.
And you got to see both the Redskins and the Eagles twice.
Yep.
And I'm looking at the schedule right now. They got the Eagles at home on the 10th. They're on the road for the Commanders on the 24th. Then they're back home for the Giants to end November.
Mm-hmm.
And then to end the season, they're on the road to Philly and at home for Washington.
Yep.
This division chase for Dallas is over.
So you're talking about basically being swept by every team except the Giants, because we probably will split that.
You'll split with the Giants.
And let's not forget the out-of-conference games, and there's 2 of them that have me worried for you guys. November 18th, the 8:15 game is Houston in your house.
Right. We still have Houston to get the Strouds.
That's a blowout.
And then you've got a December 22nd game at home against Tampa.
And something Droid brought to my attention. You know who the Cowboys play next week? Atlanta.
That you're done.
Yeah, because
if the Cowboys lose that game, and is it in Texas or is it in Georgia?
I do believe.
I think it's in Georgia.
I do believe you are correct. I do believe so. Let's take a look here.
I think it's in Georgia.
Yes, it is.
Oh,
I'm looking at it right now. It's the 1 p.m. game.
So you're talking about basically another blood march, because
that's going to be sickening, and that's my first game on Sunday. Considering the fact that the 49ers are off,
Yep.
Detroit will beat up Green Bay at 4:25. And then my Colts play the Vikings.
Right.
Yeah, because that game got flexed.
That's the first flex game that wasn't it?
Yes.
That was the first flex game.
Yes.
And then
because it was supposed to be some BS Jacksonville game, but they flipped
Jacksonville, Philadelphia. It was supposed to be Jacksonville, Philadelphia.
Yeah, but then they flipped it
to 405.
Yep.
And now you get
because Jacksonville's playing like absolute garbage most of the time.
Yep.
Right.
Now my thing is, and this is the huge what if.
Mm-hmm.
What if Dallas was going into the Atlanta game at 4-3 instead of 3-4?
Then they'd have some confidence.
Yeah, that's the thing.
They'd have a lot of confidence.
Here's the thing: if the Cowboys messed around and actually beat San Fran last night, you probably would have had a much more confident Cowboys team because they would have beaten the boogeyman at least once.
They would have beaten the bully.
Yep, they would have beaten the bully at least once.
They would have beaten the bully.
But now,
I'll never forget what you guys say a lot. The bully doesn't like to get bullied. You know, Chris Simpson says the same thing. Mm-hmm. The bully does not like to get bullied. And last night, the Cowboys were doing the bullying for about 20 minutes.
Yep. Now I'm going to bring up a very interesting stat here because I'm going down the lineup of the wins and losses for Dallas.
Mm-hmm.
Outside of the first game against Cleveland, where Dallas dropped 33,
mm-hmm.
they haven't cracked 28.
No, because you look at the teams that they went up against. We didn't expect the South to be as good as they are. And here come the New Orleans.
I mean, you guys almost beat Baltimore.
Yeah.
That should have been a W for you guys, the way Baltimore was playing, but somehow they squeezed that one out. You got your asses handed to you by both New Orleans and Detroit. That was going to be figured.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Especially Detroit.
And this is the troll period that Victor was afraid of.
Mm-hmm.
This is the 3-week troll period that Victor was afraid of when we did our preseason special.
Exactly. But here's the thing. They should have beaten New York by more instead of 5 points.
Yep.
They dropped. That was a drop game.
But when you turn the ball over 4 times,
exactly,
and
you
then
allow a team like the Giants to stay in the ball game.
And then you should have beaten Pittsburgh by more.
Yeah,
but you only scored 20 points.
That should not have been a miraculous win.
Right.
Yeah,
for
but
Dallas.
In both of those games, you only scored 20 points.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and again, in those games, and this is what's going to end up happening with Moronic probably is they're just going to take a win as a win. They're not going to look at it as a thrashing this should have been a thrashing. Pittsburgh should have been a thrashing because you had Justin Fields.
Mm-hmm.
And you can see that they're missing the key players in that defense.
Yeah.
That defense has nowhere near the teeth that it had.
Nope.
No,
last year.
You should have been able to blow them over the secondary, but you.
Hey everybody, Snowman here. Looking for the best way to experience live events? Well, SeatGeek has you covered. With just a few taps on your phone, you can find the best seats for concerts, sports, theater, and more. Don't miss out on unforgettable moments. Download the SeatGeek app today and get ready for an experience like no other. Each ticket is vetted for authenticity and ranked on a 1 to 10 scale. And right now, if you sign up and use the code Snowman, you will get $20 off of your first purchase. That's only through the power of SeatGeek, where fans can fan.
Jody called me and said, Victor wants what? I said, I'll play it for you again. And I did.
Tree Fitty.
He wants Tree Fitty for Derrick Henry.
And he didn't even get close.
And he didn't get close.
Nope.
Which is why we have a very
John Harbaugh thing.
specific but random musing of given the fact that the Ravens pulled off the stunner of stunners to get Derrick Henry in the offseason, and you would think that they would run over Cleveland for $350 for Derrick Henry alone, and it didn't happen.
Mm-hmm.
This will. All yours, partner. Go.
So I am going to stop doing these projections when I hear about these blockbuster trades. Especially when it comes to running backs. And here's why.
I know this is going to be fun.
Last year, when the Philadelphia Eagles made this steal of the century
Mm-hmm.
and got DeAndre Swift from the Lions,
Yes.
I thought nothing's going to stop the Eagles because they now have one of the best running backs out there.
Yep.
And they're going to run away with the division. It didn't happen.
Wait, don't you have a buzzer?
He has a
I
few.
do. And if I will get a moment to pull this up,
take your time. It's gonna be a slow cook, so
it's gonna be a slow cook. So
what in the world did
wait, here we go. I got a better button for Victor.
All right,
the Eagles snatched DeAndre Swift. Thought DeAndre Swift would get 1,500. Then the Eagles told us, "Shut up, fool!" I did it wrong. Then the Eagles told us,
"Shut up, fool!"
and relied on Jalen Hurts, who is still not all the way back.
Nope.
And then this happened to the Eagles season.
Exactly.
There, how's that?
And it was mainly because of Sirianni. For some reason, Skinny Jean Sirianni figured we don't need to run anymore. After they went on an absolute tear at the beginning of the season.
There you go.
They went on an absolute tear and then fell apart because they started to rely more on Jalen Hurts, even though DeAndre Swift was right there.
Who I still feel has regressed.
Jalen hurt their season.
Now, this season.
Shut up.
Now, this season, where the Baltimore Ravens, again, had what I consider the steal of the century. You got King Henry. Derrick Henry, the man that got, I believe it was 12,000 yards in high school.
Mm-hmm.
Was running up and down and abusing people when he was a Tennessee Titan.
Yep.
And the main reason why the Titans are kicking themselves in the ass.
And will forever kick themselves in the ass.
Because why on earth do you let him go? And the main reason why you do this is because you want to take pressure off of Lamar Jackson. Fairly simple thing. Makes a lot of sense.
Yep.
And then you roll into Cleveland.
There's just something about the way Victor says that.
And then you run into Cleveland.
And it's a trend that I started in saying it that way.
And I'm gonna bring up this stat right here and tell me how sickening this is.
Oh dear.
Do you know how many touches Derrick Henry had all game?
No.
I think it was 11.
11.
That's
11 for 73, and he had a touchdown late.
How many times did Lamar tuck it himself? Just hit
it. 8 times for 46 yards. Lamar Jackson, 8 carries. Not to mention that through most of the second quarter, Derrick Henry didn't see a lick. It got so bad, I literally checked and scoured Google to see if there was some sort of injury to Derrick Henry.
Mm-hmm. We all did.
I'll tell you what you found. You found nothing.
Thank you.
This is a mess. And both Jordan and I have said that if Baltimore loses to Cleveland, you throw the season away.
Yeah.
You made, as a team, Jameis Crab Legs Winston looked like he was back in Tampa Bay throwing touchdowns.
334 yards for Jameis Winston.
How many?
334
334
on
in 3
27
touchdowns.
catches. for
Jameis
41
Crab Legs Winston. I love
and,
that.
oh yeah, and he had 2 rushing yards.
Yep.
2.
Crab legs.
So
One-
watching 3 and out, 3 and out, 3 and out. I made a solemn vow. I will probably never cover another Baltimore Ravens game.
Because you wanted this
well,
one.
you won't have to, because next week the Cowboys play the Falcons and Kirk 2 Chainz Cousins.
This was so embarrassing, not just because I'm not the biggest Ravens fan. I'm going to let y'all know that now.
Yeah.
But I am a huge Derrick Henry fan.
Same.
And we talk about gross misuses. We, of course, talked about DeAndre Swift with Philly and possibly
Big
with
Zeke.
Chicago.
Mhm.
Zeke. But now we got to say about Derrick Henry, because what are the Ravens doing?
Not a
3
thing.
separate times, especially within the second and third quarters, 3 separate times. I don't think they even had 2 minutes of possession time because it went 3 and out.
Nope.
Because
They did not.
3 consecutive passes that were incomplete by Lamar Jackson.
Sounds like Prescott last night in the drive of the game.
And I hate to say it, but we all got to cover a Ravens game December 1st.
Well,
jeez.
now that's called this into question, because when we talked about how great December 1st was going to be, we thought about how amazing it would be to see Derrick Henry in a Ravens uniform, and then we found out that we're going against Saquon Barkley, who is now our Eagle. So we're thinking this is going to be, easy
Ground and pound.
250 yards, per running back.
And we'll be done with that game in about 2 hours?
Exactly.
Roughly.
But now look at what we're seeing, particularly from the Ravens. Now, the Eagles, they did their thing. They let Saquon Barkley loose.
Mm-hmm. They
But
turned him
here-
loose.
But here you have...
because they realized Jalen Hurts is meh.
Yeah. I mean, Jalen accounted for all 4 of the touchdowns that Philly had, but Saquon went off for 22 carries, $108.
And I question, who do I blame for this? Is this Harbaugh, or is this Lamar Jackson not one to share the spotlight?
Well, also, you got to remember, it's not just Harbaugh making the calls; it's Monken too.
Right.
Mm-hmm. The offensive coordinator.
And let me quote something that Monken said. He said, "I am determined to make Jackson a 5-step drop pocket passer."
Good luck with that.
You know what you do in that situation? You start establishing the run.
Mm-hmm.
You let
that's
Derrick
the idea
Henry,
of the West Coast offense.
You let Derrick Henry do his thing. Make those guys put extra run blitzers in to stop the run. And then you set the play action where you can give Lamar Jackson those 5 steps.
Yeah, you set it up to have 7 in the box for defense and then blow it over the top of them.
Because
you did that in 1 quarter last night.
Because after watching the game, Lamar Jackson barely had enough time for 2.5 steps instead of 5.
Mm-hmm. You know who did that expertly in the 3rd quarter last night?
Brock.
Yep.
It's becoming embarrassing in Baltimore when games that you should be blowing the doors off teams, you are barely getting by. And then in this one where you get embarrassed with a capital EMB by
they should have blown the doors off
Browns
because they were busy blowing the doors off of Dallas before they let Prescott back in the ball game.
I mean, honestly, I'm gonna just say this: you probably could have had Deshaun Watson in, the game would have been the same.
No,
you probably would have had because here's the thing: there was so much of a difference in time of possession between the Browns and the Ravens that you probably could have given Deshaun Watson multiple more opportunities. He probably still would have lucked his way into a couple touchdowns.
I agree with that.
There was no control of the ball at all.
None.
And this is supposed to be the front runner for the AFC. It's not looking like it.
How while Kansas City's around.
It's not looking like it.
I mean, come on here. They lost to Oakland of all teams early this season. That should have been a blowout.
With the way they look, they would get beat up by the Jacksonville Jaguars at this point.
Oh God.
Oh, the land of AEW?
Kenny Omega and the Young Bucks would have V-triggered Lamar's ass.
This seems like for some reason you went out of your way to get Derrick Henry, and you're too scared to use him.
Why does that sound so familiar?
And
Half the
I
NFL was too scared to use their running backs.
That because the Ravens took an L, the Steelers now lead the AFC North.
Oh, dear God.
The AFC Norris division is led by Pittsburgh.
By
And
Russell Wilson and the Pittsburgh.
And think about this. Think what's going to happen when Pittsburgh faces against Baltimore. If things don't change.
I already got my answer for that
If
matchup.
things do not change, you're going to see Mr. Unlimited.
What's going to happen? Victor says when Pittsburgh faces Baltimore. Here's my answer.
Damn it!
I told you.
Shane, you asked for this.
Oh, damn it.
So I don't know what's going to happen. But the Baltimore Ravens, you got humbled. Yesterday. You got humbled.
Sheiky baby, love you.
You let Jameis Crab-Legs Winston dog walk y'all throughout the entire game. Jameis went anywhere with deed in hand, the ink being dry. He now owns Baltimore.
Hold on. Because yes, Lamar, it is you.
Yeah.
It will always be
you.
It will always be you. Forever and ever.
And
the church says, Amen.
Amen.
And now Cole's got something else to come up with.
So I don't know what.
No, I see that look on your face, Brian. No, and the no.
Too late. Too late. But like I said, I'm gonna stop coming with these projections because this has gotten ridiculous. The second time that we've had a top tier running back, and y'all making Derrick Henry have buyer's remorse. I think he wants to be back in Tennessee.
I think he wants to be back in Alabama.
He probably was back. Yeah, probably. Because he had, keyword, had a offense and a coach that believed in him.
Had being the operative word.
And yet, now you have, to me, what seems to be a team of prima donnas. Because this seemed like, I don't know if there's some beef between Lamar and Derrick or something, because the fact that you have Lamar Jackson, you have an opportunity to run side by side with one of the best running backs in the league and take pressure off you so you don't get your ASS beat every single time.
Keep going.
You don't get blitzed half the time. You don't get sacked half the time. And yet you are still trying to make things happen with your legs. I don't know if this is just a reflex thing or a train thing. Somebody has to take responsibility for this.
And to think that Baltimore still got their 2 meetings with Pittsburgh. They've got a meeting with Houston, another meeting with Cleveland, And next week they've got Denver.